mission statement process specifically, we have submitted all the requested information to date to the NCA. And we're optimistic that we are just hopefully days away, perhaps, from getting some feedback, at least initially, on what that means for our student athletes who currently are here and have remaining eligibility. There's obviously some additional steps in the process once that decision is rendered, but we're optimistic that that might happen here in short order as opposed to a few weeks down the road.
Hey Beth, Chad Leist, Des Moines Register. I kind of understand you've talked to Brad at the SWARM. Can you kind of characterize how those discussions went, and then I have a follow-up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I've had an opportunity to sit down with Brad. Really enjoyed it. That conversation. He sent me some notes about some tips on today too. Okay. One was to make sure I talked positively about the SWARM, so that would be no problem. But it's been wonderful to at least start to build a relationship with Brad. I know many of us on our staff had already had an opportunity to do that. But really, you know, when it comes to name, image, and likeness, it's just a critical piece for our student athletes and our success competitively. No different than the generosity that's coming in through NIL gifts and through the SWARM, and in other ways, it's just as important these days as scholarships and facilities and other operational needs. But really what Brad and his team have done, I think has really given us a chance to be really successful. And the way that they did it, if you look across the country, many of the other collectives didn't quite have the same success right out of the gate. I think they've been very thoughtful. His team is almost in daily conversation, sometimes with ours, and has been. But we're just really appreciative of his efforts, of all of those who've chosen to contribute there. And they're doing some exciting and fun things.
Yeah, and I know, I mean, one of his frustrations, or their frustrations, was, you know, that there wasn't a lot of give and take with athletics. Do you feel empowered in your role as interim AD to kind of make some change in that area?
Yeah, you know, I think from the beginning it's been a challenge, I think, for all campuses to try and find the right balance between what the NCAA rule structure is, or lack of rules in this space might be, and where we're comfortable operating. And so I know there's been conversations again with his team and going back to the beginning, but I think that the narrative around that, some of the movement that we're starting to see nationally, whether that be through some federal or state legislation, or through potentially some more parameters from the NCAA, just gives us the ability to be a little bit more flexible. But I mean, my thought is that we want to be great partners with Brad, with the SWARM, and really with anyone that's willing to help and support our student athletes. So we're looking forward to seeing that continue for sure.
John Bonenkamp, Associated Press. Good to see you. Getting back to the gambling, are you looking at this, or is there going to be kind of an expansion of the education for the student athletes on, you know, do you look at this as a cautionary tale for them to do more? I mean, to have more of an education thing?
I think any time, right, where you see something like this, it's always a time where you want to evaluate and see what practices you have in place and how you can get better. You know, gambling's a couple things. One, I do think we had educational components in place, but the world's changed, right? The environment that those young men and all of us and women are living in, being bombarded with advertisements and all of the online gaming opportunities, and the fact that it's now legal, certainly in the state of Iowa and across many states, the environment's changed. So how we educate, how frequently, what that mechanism is, I think is going to be really important. And as this, you know, we come through this, we know and believe that the integrity of the game, there's just nothing more important than that. But we do think there's going to have to be an evaluation of how these rules are applied from an NCAA level. But absolutely going to want try to continue to find ways to make sure student athletes understand the impact, the risks, the rules that are associated with sports gambling.